Hello, this is part one of my conversation with Lou and Nathan Fellingham. It's really worth catching. Hello, this is Les Moir, and this is More Than a Song. And today I have my good friends, Lou and Nathan Fellingham.
Hello.
Hey, hello, what a treat to have you over in Eastbourne.
Oh, thanks for having us.
It's so good to be here.
Yes, and we have I was going to say we have a long history.
We do.
But we have really been amazing. We've actually, just before we started filming, we were telling so many stories and encouraging each other. But Lou and Nathan were part of a band called Fatfish.
Yes.
I remember coming to clubs in Brighton,
indeed,
the Concord, and to hear you. But we were just saying, in the early 90s, there was a move of God, wasn't there? With the youth in the UK.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to be part of it. But it's just, there was so much going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think I moved to Brighton in '94 to join this band, Fatfish, which was basically to go into pubs and clubs and be salt and light, evangelism, which I really wanted to grow in, and then also to be working in the local church in the worship team. And Dave Fellingham, Nath's dad, not my dad, Nath's dad, was in charge of the worship team there, was an elder there, and had already written quite a lot of worship songs for the church. And so I thought he was a guy to learn from and kind of glean from. So I moved to Brighton, and that was my expectation. And then during that year, there was an outpouring of the Spirit like I'd never experienced before, and it seemed to go across all nations, across all languages, and obviously the young people definitely were affected by that. And so for us as young people at that time,
we counted as young people.
We did.
I did.
There were definite seeds planted in the Spirit. Giving you a longing for what God can do sometimes across the church. So that was quite an exciting time.
Yeah. And you were also part of Stoneleigh.
Yes.
So you were like the worship team at Stoneleigh.
Yeah.
Leading with Stuart and Kate.
Yeah.
Simmons.
Yeah.
At the time. And again, that was incredible outpouring, wasn't it? I remember the album Ruach.
Yes.
Which was a very, very powerful album, but also very powerful in terms of recording, in terms of capturing what God was doing there.
Yeah, it was quite a special, unique moment. Definitely, that was 1994 at Stoneleigh. We were a young, inexperienced band playing with my dad and with Stuart, and just sort of thrown in the deep end, really. But it was a really, really special year. Some incredible moments of worship, just experiencing God in very powerful ways. And I think it wasn't something that anybody planned. Obviously, it wasn't a work of man. It was definitely something that God was doing. But we felt really privileged to be there in that moment and to be able to really learn some things about worship in that environment at that moment, with stuff that then sticks with you and lasts. I
remember about those times was the long times of ministry at the end.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Lots of laughter everywhere, scattered around the room. And
so you played, you'd be there for the worship. Set, if you want to call it that, but worship time. But then there was this time at the end, and you could be there for
hours. It was, and I think what I loved about that season, because it started, for us, there was definitely a moment in 1994 when it began, and then we saw it in this large congregational setting at Stoneleigh Bible Week, and then we saw it in our local setting. So that we had many meetings, many times throughout that time where we prayed for the sick, prayed for healing, prayed for all sorts of things as we were doing it and worshipping, because it was a time when people were responding, but it was a time when the body was worshipping. There was freedom in the church, not just the worship leaders doing it, but that was one of the beautiful and exciting bits as a worship leader, and being involved there was like, actually it's us as a people that are making this sound, it's us as a people that are enjoying God, and that has always lasted in my memory. Definitely.
And what songs would you remember from then?
Well, from Stoneleigh it would be Ruach, Fire, there's a Fire, There's a Place.
Yeah.
Paul Oakley stuff.
Paul Oakley stuff. Dave Bilbrough, sound the trumpet, strike the drum. And
There's a river.
There's a river. I tell you, that song, Dave Fellingham told me, Lou, my not yet father-in-law, said, Lou, I found this song, I just need you to sing it once. You know, I just need it for this week. If you could do that, and then you won't have to sing it again. Sure, Dave, I'll do whatever you say. I was then known as the There's a River girl for the next 3 or 4 years, and it's a pretty difficult song to sing. It was pretty high, but it was lots of fun. Again, there was just a freedom that came in those moments in worship that were just full of joy and expectation, and God was doing something in people's hearts and lives. Which was very powerful. Obviously, you had the delirious songs, you know, with
Did you feel the mountains tremble?
Did you feel the mountains tremble? Which still, you know, carries that prophetic kind of heartbeat that flows into now, really. So yeah, obviously Martin has got that great gift of prophetic writing to give the church a song to sing in those moments as well. So it was exciting on every level, really.
Yeah, but that changes you, doesn't it? It changes you because you're part of it.
Yeah.
As Gerald Coates would say, you can't unsee it.
No.
You saw it, and so that for me, that being part of it also just changed my perspective of who God is. Seeing Him move so powerfully.
Yeah.
And increased my worship to Him.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you went to different nations, Canada,
Yeah.
America, all these different places.
Yeah, it was remarkable. And I think that one of the things you love is that you can go to different nations and you can be in different expressions of churches, but the same God is present and doing a great work. And so going to Canada or going to America or going to other nations, you'd see God's doing the same thing. It was like sometimes God's doing something in just you, but often that could be caught up in what He's doing in the wider church. And here it was like across the nations, the Spirit is moving powerfully. And so it was a really special time. I remember being in a church in Canada, and to be honest, I was still pretty new at leading worship. My experience of leading worship being in worship was to stand up, sing the song through and sit down. I was still kind of a baby at this kind of style of worship. And
sorry to say, then you stand up, you sing the song.
I'm still
no, but then you lie down, you know.
There's that too.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
I thought you were going to say that I stood up and I'm still like a baby. I'm sure. But anyway, I remember being in this. It wasn't Catch the Fire. It was something like that over in Calgary, and it was a youth meeting. And I was asked to lead worship, and an hour went by without even blinking, you know, because there are moments when you're leading worship where, you know, you're giving people tools to worship with, but you still feel very much like you're having to do a lot of the leadership in that. But then there are other moments like this moment where it was like I hardly had to do anything. I just put a few markers here and there, and everyone else would be following God, you know. So, and those moments are really stuck in my memory as well as the good steak. That was Calgary steak was really good.
But what I was thinking was that a lot of those songs were from Brighton. They were from your local church, local church expression, and then to see God use them in different nations is always...
Yeah, it was very special.
There was definitely that sense of people serving at home, you know, just writing songs and faithfully, you know, bringing them, crafting them, using them in the local context, and then, you know, God did breathe on them, and they did, you know, find their place in wider context as well. And I think whenever people ask, you know, about, you know, how do I get my song here or there, you're like, well, I don't really know. Probably start by writing songs for your church, for your people, and then see what God will do. And
I was thinking earlier about the song Holy Holy, Nathan, and because I remember texting you from Trafalgar Square.
Amazing,
that song in the city, and Trafalgar Square was full of young people worshipping, and then Tim Hughes started to lead Holy Holy.
Amazing,
and it was just a song from you, from Brighton, you worshipping. Tell me more about that song.
Well, that song was actually, it came about very quickly. It was definitely Well, I remember, I kind of remember it as the chorus came in a moment, kind of, you know, and then I just hurriedly wrote a verse, sort of thing, you know, and thought, well, that'll, you know, that's all right, it'll do. It's not as good as it could be.
You were 16,
I was,
weren't you?
yeah, 16 or 17. So.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was, and it's quite a humbling thing to, you know, to realise that, you know, we obviously want to craft our songs, and we always encourage people to craft songs, and to work hard and to really think and study all of these things. But that definitely was just something that it felt like was just a gift to me at that moment. That just a sense of God doing something in my heart, and that being an expression that kind of popped out. And at that moment, it wasn't, you know, I didn't think, oh wow, I've written an amazing song. It was more just, well, this is a genuine, heartfelt expression to God that I felt in my own context of just, you know, playing piano, worshiping on my own, and then to know that other people are then responding to that and picking it up and using it was amazing. Yeah.
What I was thinking about, Nathan, was, you know, in Chronicles, you read about Levites, and they trained their sons
Right.
and daughters.
Yeah.
And obviously you grown up in a house with your dad, and
That's right. Yeah.
obviously very gifted worship leader, songwriter.
Yes. Yeah.
Seen his songs used again all over the world, and you and Luke
Yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
being part of Fat Fish together, then part of the Stoney Band, and all these things.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think living in a household which was full of worship, full of not just the written songs, although there was that, but just you know, an atmosphere, a sense of just this is what life is. It's a life that we're always giving thanks and glory to God for everything. And often that came out as expressed through music, through songs and such. And we got caught hold of that. But it was that, and it was more than that as well. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, amazing. But also I was thinking about, you know, the songs of substance. You know, and there's the whole thing of we're going to say more contemporary hymn.
Yeah.
And theology in song, and I know that's really on both your hearts. And I just wonder if you talk more about that.
Yeah, I think over the years we both really enjoy studying the Bible and understanding more about what, you know, the Bible is telling us. So we both enjoy that generally, and then I think within the song context and congregational context, you know, people go away singing songs. So for us, it's really important that what they take away actually bears truth to what we believe, lines up with Scripture and what God is saying. So we've always been really hot on trying to make sure that every line that we write lines up with Scripture, because we believe that, you know, God, you know, in is it Colossians or Ephesians, where it talks about being taught. When we sing psalms,
3:16,
hymns and spiritual songs to each other, there's a teaching, there's an admonishing, there's a building up. And so we have a responsibility to give people the songs that are full of stuff that will do that will teach them truth and give them a chance to feed their souls throughout the week. So we really believe in the importance of that, don't we? We've spent many hours through some of the songs, you know, figuring out lines, trying to sharpen things, trying to make them happen. Early albums when we had kids, you know, we'd get them to bed at 7:30, and then we'd spend the next 3 or 4 hours working over the lyrics and the theology of it all, and what do we really want to say, and what do people want to have in their hearts and their mouths, because there's a responsibility when you give people songs that you're giving them something that they're going to then be articulating, and there's a responsibility there as well.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That is true.
Anything else you want to add?
But Nathan, you've just written a paper, haven't you, on that? Or?
So I was studying part-time for a master's in theology, but
he's now a master of theology.
But the paper was called, my dissertation was Why Do We Sing? Explorations into a Theology of Music. But actually, I mean, interestingly, my emphasis on that I wanted to really press into was what is the role that music actually plays specifically. Because when we start talking about, you know, the truth that we, you know, digest as we worship and stuff, obviously we jump to lyrics very quickly, as well we should, because it's very important. But I suppose for me, I wanted to I guess in a sense it's more surface level why it is that singing good lyrics is important for us as Christians. That's in a sense a fairly easy thing to answer. Why that kind of how that interplays with music and what role is music specifically playing is a more complex thing to think about. And it can tend to be a bit sort of reductionist in that music is basically like a delivery mechanism for text. You know, so if the music is delivering the text well, which is the important bit, then all well and good. But beyond that, and once it's done that job, it's like the music can kind of get thrown aside, like a sweetie wrapper. It's like an attractive gloss that is basically its job is done once the sweet is consumed. Do you know what I mean? So, and for me as a musician, that felt, thinking like that feels. Like it undermines the gift of musicianship. But on the flip side, I feel like we can then get a little bit loose with what music's doing and sort of start giving music this kind of all-encompassing power. You know, like we just play some chords and the Holy Spirit comes and be a bit and just be a bit imprecise, I suppose. So with my paper, I was really trying to get precise and really think that through. So yeah.
What I was thinking about was Within Christ Alone, which you've obviously sang many times. And but this whole thing of Keith writing the melody, and then Stuart writing the words. So how does it work with you? Is there one who's more melody focused or more lyric?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or how does that work?
I don't know. I think we tend to kind of share it out a bit. I think one of us might come with a melody to start off with. So it might initially start with one of us, and then from that we can build the song up. So over the years, depending on whether we're writing just by ourselves or with other people, that also changes the dynamic of it. We tend to kind of often have the melody and a bit of an idea of what the song should be about. We might have a hook here or there, then from that work on the lyrics separately and then come together and fine tune them.
It's definitely not as sort of clear as it is with Keith and Stuart and others. I think for us it tends to be a bit of both, and sometimes it'll be that one of us will start working on some lyrics and then the other will hone them and vice versa as well. So there's some songs that I know one of us has written a specific verse and the other has written other verses and such, and then maybe the second verse is a mixture of the two of us or whatever.
I remember with Holy Yours, it was like I'd got verse 1 and 2 really, really easily and knew what verse 3 needed to be about, but I couldn't get it in order. So I handed it to Nath, and he just orchestrated the lyrics in a beautiful way, in a way that I wanted to be, that I could never do. And there's other times when you've had like lows in a song and I've just kind of added on a few things here and there, and so it's a really nice way to kind of sharpen one another. And I think what we love doing is really digging deep for the gold in it. And I think because when you sing truth, we believe that the truth sets you free. Obviously that's Jesus that sets you free, but there's power in singing truth over your life and feeding yourselves with truth. And so when you're writing songs, you want to give people tools to be able to resonate this truth within them, but then also give them opportunity. We were talking earlier about having space to then respond to that truth. So you can't fill your plate so much up. It's like if you have a cupboard, you can only fill it with so much stuff, and then it's full, and anything else kind of explodes out. And it's the same. There's lots of ways you could depict it. Too much on your plate, you can only you get full up with too much food. And so when you're writing songs, you want to give people truth that will kind of speak over their lives, or bring freedom, or bring hope, or truth and understanding, because worship is about magnifying God and giving people a greater understanding, a bigger view of Him. And so you want to find ways to do that, but then there needs to be opportunity to respond to that. So sometimes that comes in a song, so the verses can be filled with real deep theology, and then you get the response out of that and understanding. Sometimes it can be about when you put a song list together. Actually, if you have like 5 songs that are all filled with loads of truth, as wonderful as they can be, and the songs can be excellent in and of themselves, people begin to kind of fill up.
Yeah.
And so when you're piecing that together, you want to make sure that there's room for people to respond in that setting as well.
It's great, really good, wise advice. But there's just that balance, isn't there, between content and engagement.
Yes, definitely.
And you can go either way. And also, the inhaling of truth, and then the exhaling of worship. And,
there's an interesting quote which is kind of related to this, that by the lyricist for Wizard of Oz, a guy called Yip Harburg, I think his name is, and he says that words help you think a thought, music helps you feel a feeling, but a song helps you feel a thought. And I thought it's really powerful, that thought of, it's so sometimes when you hear, when you just hear a lyric, whatever you're writing about, it's like, you can sort of relate to it, but then that combination of, and obviously we know that music can affect our emotions and help us to feel stuff, but then that combination where you actually begin to feel the thought, and it goes, it kind of goes inside you a little bit more. And so I suppose with that, you've got to think, well, what are the thoughts we want people to be feeling, not just thinking, but actually feeling when they leave. And again, which is why what we give them to sing is so important.
And it's also important to have songs that do have enough content so that you can respond. Otherwise, the response is kind of like, well, what are you responding to?
Yes.
And so that's why, again, we feel it's important. Even when we did the event the other day, you could see the truth of what we were saying really stirring in people, so then they could respond out of that. And a lot of people, well, not a lot, but a few people said to me, the content of the songs, what we sang, was so powerful in that moment. It really spoke to me. And when worship is talked about and singing psalms, hymns and spiritual songs, there is that moment of being filled with the Spirit, but also that teaching, isn't there, and
Absolutely,
training and building up of each other. So
I love the revelation and response.
Exactly.
So good, but there's got to be time to respond, isn't there? And there's the even thing about like 10,000 reasons. With the verses. But what God, who God is and what He's done, and but the chorus is "Bless the Lord, O my soul." Just it's a response to
absolutely.
the truth and revelation of the verse.
I mean, most of the big hits have got that, haven't they? Am I allowed to say the big hits? Most of the popular songs that many people like to sing have that. Living Hope tells you the thing. Then you have "Oh, Praise the Name" does that. What a beautiful name. Blah, blah. So there's lots of. So if you're wanting to write, we're all trying. I think just there's power in just thinking, how am I feeding people, and then how do I sum it up? I remember writing a song and taking it to Stuart to kind of help me with the last bit.
We're talking about Stuart Townend.
Stuart Townend. And he just said, you just need a line to sum up everything else that you've said. And it was really helpful to bring that conclusion, because in a sense that's what the response chorus is doing. It's kind of bringing that conclusion to what you've heard. Now I can respond to that and sum up what I've been hearing.
Very
good.
I found that helpful.
The good thing about the interesting thing about 10,000 Reasons, it doesn't have a bridge.
It does not have a bridge, or a pre. Does it have a pre? It doesn't have a pre.
No.
It does have a long bit in between the end of the verse and the chorus, though. Or you're not quite where, but no, it doesn't. That's amazing.
So it's interesting, isn't it?
It's quite short. It is that thing of simplicity sometimes, that people can remember the lyrics, feed the lyrics to them, and then there's not too much to have to remember, but it's enough to actually feed you.
But that's what you were saying earlier, wasn't it? Just the crafting. The crafting of that verse. So it's the truth. Enough truth that. And it's really hits you. Good. That was a great time. Great session with Lou and Nathan, and so many pearls of wisdom also. So please like, subscribe, and share this with whoever you think must be a blessing to. And see you soon.